Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. New Monarchy has won the second faction rally, so we can all head over to Executor Hideo and pick up an awesome sword. In addition to that, Bungie did put out a small teaser for the stream that is happening tomorrow morning, telling us more about Curse of Osiris. In addition to that, we have the third challenge for the raid launching this week, and that is for the Pleasure Gardens. A lot to go over, so let's get into it. Alright, as always, starting with the weekly milestones, we have the Flashpoint 9 Titan, you have your Clan XP, the Nightfall, the Leviathan completion, and Call to Arms as your sources of powerful gear that will get you to 305. For the Nightfall this week, we have Savathun's Song. This is one of my favorite strikes, if not my favorite strike in the game, and the modifiers are Momentum, Health and Shield regenerations are disabled while standing still, Sprint to regenerate them much quicker, and then we have Time Warp Anomalies. This is a kind of fun one, especially since the Nightfall isn't too crushing. We have Strange Anomalies have been detected, destroy them to release temporal energy, and extend the mission timer. Should be pretty easy. Now, one of the big topics of the week is the winner of the second faction rally, and that is New Monarchy. So if you were allied to New Monarchy, you can go ahead and pick up the sword for 1,000. If you were with Dead Orbit or Future War Cult, you'll have to pay a little bit more. But at least the good news is that the sword isn't anything super special. It is one of those typical uppercut type weapons. The cool thing is that it does have a pretty neat perk called On Guard, which is quick attacks immediately after swapping to the sword. It does more damage. And in my testing, this actually resulted in about a 50% increase in damage, which is not too bad, but the only issue is that it doesn't last very long. It only lasts about a couple seconds before it goes away. Although in my opinion, none of the swords hold a candle to the raid sword, but that's a different story. Moving on, this week we also have the third raid challenge being released for the Pleasure Gardens, and I'm going to be making a separate video for this later on, but essentially the prism holders can only shoot one flower each, so you're either going to have to kill all the dogs with a stack of 24, or you're going to have to drop the prism and have someone else that is holding the spore then pick up the prism so you can get additional stacks. One cycling with a stack of 24 can be challenging, but at this point, especially if you're a higher power level, this should be pretty easy to do. It might be a little challenging on Prestige since there's 8 dogs, but it still is possible. But anyways, keep an eye out for my full guide on that later on. Moving on, tomorrow, of course, we have the first of 3 streams, which will outline exactly what we can expect from the first expansion, Curse of Osiris, coming December 5th. And in true Bungie fashion, we got a little teaser for that stream, so I'll go ahead and play that for you now, and we'll circle back and talk about it at the end.
There's been a development on Mercury.
And you think Osiris might be involved?
I predicted many things, but I never saw you.
Right, so the veil is starting to lift a little bit, and I just wanted to point out a few interesting things from the teaser. First up, we have a shot of what looks like a brand new ship. The sort of Curse of Osiris theme of having these sort of like radiolarian tubes going around all the equipment is pretty common. Again, going along the theme that we might be using Vex technology to a certain extent, at least we know Osiris might be. And here's another angle of that ship. You can see more of those tubes along the top of the ship. I really hope that this ship does not end up being just exclusive to Eververse. I hope we get this in-game. I'm still bummed out that we don't have a ship or a sparrow for the raid or any other endgame activities, so hopefully this is a way of them moving back towards the way it was in Destiny 1. Here is one of the first hints of our standard sort of stock of weapons being upgraded to include maybe weapons that were not featured before from different vendors. Here we see what is very clearly a Vice grenade launcher, and it looks pretty cool. I love that you can see these shells kind of load into the chamber. That's pretty cool. So it might be a bit of a stretch, but I hope this suggests that we're going to be getting brand new weapons for all of the vendors, including the Vanguard, the Crucible, all of the different sort of gunsmith weapons. Especially with the lock perks, I think it's sort of a necessity at this point to get a lot more guns more frequently, so hopefully we'll see a lot more. Next up, we have a pretty good look at the lighthouse, and I really like the way it functions with the walls sort of retracting down to reveal the sun. I don't know if this is going to be what you see every time, probably just the first time you visit, or it could potentially just be part of the story mission. We'll have to wait and see. But this next shot, we see this clear portal, and this is sort of the key art for the expansion, where we see this giant sort of pyramid structure. My guess from the color palette of the wider shot is that this is actually the surface of Mercury, and then going through this portal is what takes you to the Infinite Forest, which has been described as a part of Mercury that sits outside of time and space. Which now starts to make sense because the first thing I noticed with the Infinite Forest is that it doesn't have the same color palette or the same skybox of Mercury. So this portal might be a transition in and out of that space. Finally, we have an in-game render of Osiris. He doesn't have his mask or his helmet on. We get a good look of what he looks like. He's a little bit older, which I did expect, and I really like how detailed he is for an in-game render. I'm very much looking forward to see if he does in fact become the new speaker or how that all shakes out. I'm very much looking forward to learning a lot more about this character. But anyways, that brings us to the end of the video. That was sort of like a summary of what's going on this week. Let me know in the comments below if you're excited for Curse of Osiris. Of course, we have that stream again tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm going to be looking forward to that. And of course, you can expect a full breakdown of what we learn right here on the channel. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and turn on that notification bell so you'll know when I post. As always, be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time.